There we go. All right. Hey, Marina, thanks for doing the call today. So we're basically doing a summary of the last 7.5 months or so of training for you on Momentum Program. Tell me a little bit about yourself, sort of who you are, what weight class you compete in. We'll start with that.
So my name's Marina. I'm 18. I go to Queen's University of Charlotte, and I compete in the 56 kilogram weight class.
Yeah. Cool. Sweet. So we started coaching, we're mid-September right now. We started coaching pretty much the beginning of February. Before we started coaching together, what did your training look like? What was going well? What were some things you were having issues with?
So actually I used to just bench all the time. I would literally max out like every single session I did. Yeah, I would be like, okay, what's my new max? And then 2 days later, oh, I bet I got stronger. What's my new max? Like, it was that kind of thing. Like, I had zero structure, basically. I mean, I would definitely go to failure, but I just didn't know how to structure anything. And I didn't really squat either or deadlift. Like, I look back at my deadlift videos and I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing? Like, it looks so
like you trained them, there just wasn't a lot of like structure or intention behind them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I think the easiest place to look when we're looking at progress with powerlifting is the numbers, because that's what matters the most, right? So I've just got some stuff written down here from your maxes basically when we started, and then your bests to date so far, right? So your bench, you've gone from about a 160. Your best to date is a 185, which is we're closing on 200.
Dude, it's way more than that. I did the 167 for 4 paused, plus the 185 in May was a touch and go. Like, I don't count that. And my butt was off the bench. But now, low key, I think I'm like at 200. Maybe even.
I mean, with how your dips have been progressing and all your bench variants, I think we're probably looking at 200 at this point.
Yeah, I can probably do 185 with no legs, I think.
Yeah, say no more, right? Yeah, and then squat was like 225 when you started, and then you did 270 for a PR in June, and then a couple of weeks back you did 275 for 5, which just as an aside with that, when we'd initially talked, you'd mentioned that basically by the beginning of 2023 you wanted to be doing 275 as a max. So
yeah, I remember
I'd say
that.
Things are going well in that regard. Definitely progressing on the squats. And then deadlifts, you started out with a pretty decent deadlift. Like you were pulling, albeit maybe not super pretty, you're pulling 275 and you wanted to pull about 315, right?
Yeah.
And at your last meet you got 319, and you've also pulled I think like 10 singles in a day at 315.
Yeah, and they were so fast. And that was 2 months ago. And like, I have had my back problems, but like, still I've made a ton of progress on deadlift. Like, just literally within a month of that meet, like I started pulling, like my max at that comp for like such fast reps. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was that block after the meet was fantastic.
Yeah,
things went super well there. And I mean, it's not like it hasn't been good either leading up to this point, but it was like you were ready, you did the comp, and then it was just fantastic after that. There was no lull. Yeah.
Especially with bench. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bench has been really good. So yeah, like what were the biggest takeaways for you from Momentum Program? Like what were the biggest things you learned, things that you think, hey, these will be really useful, down the line in my training?
I've been really trying to improve my mindset, because it's really easy for me to like get super absorbed in an awful training day, which usually means like one tiny thing goes wrong or not to plan, and I'm like, oh, I'm so weak. Like, I'm trying not to do that anymore. And like focus on the big picture instead of like the small little bumps in the road. So I think I've improved on that quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, getting stronger is really cool.
Yeah, I'd agree with all those points. I think the other thing that's been really productive for you is just having more data to lean on. So in the sense that pretty much every time you have a session where it's like, this is crap, I'm super weak, because of that, one or two things, or the strength isn't there that day, or whatever it may be, right?
Mhm.
Almost inevitably the next session or within 7 days, you hit some ridiculous PR.
Yeah.
So it makes kind of swallowing that pill of those sessions that aren't amazing a little easier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is
Sure.
what we talked about with that, 80-10-10, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say someone was in the same position as you, February, that you were in kind of January, February of this year, where, you were getting stronger in your training. It's not that you weren't making progress, but there wasn't maybe as much structure as you would have liked. And I guess it's hard for me to kind of position it that way, in the sense that, like, you can't know what you don't know, right? You
Mhm.
were doing your training, you're getting stronger, but you're like, what am I missing? And you're very curious in that sense, where you're like, let's find out.
Yeah.
But other people might just say, hey, I'm getting stronger, screw it, that's good enough, right? What would you tell someone in a situation like that?
Well, first of all, never have that good enough mindset if you want to get stronger, because like I just don't understand that in the first place. Because like you want to be the strongest you can possibly be, so why not like explore all those options to make that happen?
Mhm.
What else would I say? Literally just like invest in yourself. Like I know for a fact that I would not be able to teach myself all these like exercises and things that would make me better. Like I couldn't have done this by myself for real. Like I'm the one doing the work, but I wouldn't know what work to do to get me here.
Right.
So get a coach and do your research
Yeah. 100%.
and eat enough, sleep enough, all that.
Yeah. Stick to the plan. Like, recover just as hard as you train, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh my God. Don't go off program. Or just like, dude, when I was in that weight or that strength training class,
Yeah.
I was putting so much gains on the table by like overworking myself 24/7. Like that was when my bench was in a complete stalemate for like almost 3 months.
Yep.
Like I was stuck at 170 or lower for the entirety of that class. And then
Yep.
when that class was over, my bench was like, woo.
Yep.
It's like overworking yourself will get counterproductive.
Yep.
So the program is the program for a reason. So stick to it.
Yep.
And
And,
don't like,
those easy phases are planned to be easy, so that, you have those phases like leading to the meet and after the meet, where it's just your bench just does that almost vertical straight line up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. Sweet. Any final thoughts? Anything else you'd want to add?
Um, I'm just like amazed at the progress I've made in the past like however many months it was. I thought even a 315 squat in 1 year would be completely unattainable from like 225 to 315. I'm probably at or above 315 right now.
Yeah.
And it's
So
on
I guess for context, if somebody's watching this, you're not great at reps. Like, if you can do something for 5, you can probably add almost 15 to 20% to that as a
yeah,
max.
seriously. So that's just crazy, first of all.
Yeah.
And my bench, like especially when I was in that stalemate, like I'm like, is this my genetic potential at this point? Like that's like kind of dumb to think, but I was like,
Right.
damn, I thought I was stronger than this, and I thought that was like the peak for my bench for me, but
Right.
not at all, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually just having that genetic potential conversation with another lifter that I work with the other day, and they were like, hey, how much do genetics matter? And I said, well, they do, but if you're sitting there worrying about something that you can't change, you're spending time and effort worrying about stuff that, you could take that effort and energy and worry about stuff that you can change and recover better, modulate your volume better, have a better program, look at different details and find ways to progress. And that's all stuff you can change, right? And, lo and behold, finish that class, you had a little bit more recovery available to you, and, we could get a little tighter on the programming, and you added like a lot of weight to your bench. in a very short span of time.
Yeah, for real. Also, like, that reminds me of Jen Thompson. This woman's 49.
Yep.
And she still adds pounds to her bench. Like, she's at my deadlift max right now. Like,
Yep.
in bench. Actually, she passed it. She's like,
Passed it.
oh my God, she's like in the 320s.
Yep.
Insane. And she just keeps getting stronger because she just puts in the work.
Yeah, and that's, I'd say, someone who we could argue is very close to her genetic potential, right? But she's trying to find, okay, where can I find that 0.2% gain?
Yeah.
And add, right? And then that's a pound on her bench, and so on, right?
Even if it's every couple months.
Yeah, that adds up. Cool. Okay. I think that covers everything that we wanted to go through today. Thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it. It's been awesome working with you these last several months, I should say. Yeah, and if you're watching this and this resonates with you, definitely reach out, comment, just momentum below on this. I'll get in touch. I'll see if we can help and if you'd be a good fit. Thank you again, Marina.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.